pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Good evening, everyone at home. Does anyone have any public comment that the public has asked you to bring before the board?
I put a request on social media, nobody sent me anything.
It was right on the website also.
Okay. You all have the minutes of the last meeting, April the 13th. Do you have anyone would like to approve?
Motion?
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
So carried. Communications. I don't have anything in particular. He paid out in bills $188,174 on April the 17th. The larger payouts were our insurance companies, $31,187. Salty Icer, $14,516. Ford Motor Company for the police car lease, $11,937. Highland Falls Library, which was their second quarter contribution, $62,803. Our attorney, $5,341. Rockland County Waste Sanitation would be $13,256. And for court-collected fines and fees to the state comptroller, $27,474. That was for February. I don't think they'll be getting much for the next few months, if anything. Another revenue loss by the state, but also another revenue loss by the town and the village. Our treasury bond, I think Kelly sent this to everyone, but if not, I'll give you a brief explanation of what we did. We had the two treasury bonds. One was a 1 year and one was, I think, a 2 year. And we got quite a bit of interest. I don't remember the exact number, but it was a substantial amount of money. So our $401,000 one, which is maturing, but the interest they're willing to pay, I think, was 0.01%, which basically makes it hardly worthwhile to reinvest it. Kelly called me up and asked me what she should do, because we may just need that money with the situation that we're in now, with the no revenues coming in and all the bills still going out. So I told her to collect the money and bank it in our normal bank.
I would approve of that, Bob.
Would you? Okay. She had a time where she had to get that done, so I just told her go ahead and do it. Like, I can't believe the interest rate down that much. And we did make some good money off it, so should the interest rates come back up again, we'll certainly go back at it again. Any problems or questions with that? I got a letter from the Association of Towns asking me to write to our federal representatives, to Gillibrand, Schumer, and Maloney. I beat Justin to the punch because I sent it to him, and he says, "Oh, you want me to draft one?" So The letter, I added just a few things. The town of Highlands gateway to West Point serves a population of 15,000 residents, including West Point. And then the services we supply and everything else. And we're estimating the tax revenue loss, yada, 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 the whole letter. And we're asking our representatives to protect our federal monies that we do get to help with our taxpayers. So, Justin, anything to say about that?
No, I know Councilman Sullivan had passed on some information in that regard as well, and was anxious to see that sort of letter request, and I think it's prudent your municipality and really all the local municipalities should be doing it.
Again, I signed the letter as town supervisor, therefore I wasn't speaking for the board, although I'm sure I am anyway.
You can speak for me.
Yeah. So, but I just wanted to get it done and back and out to where it belonged.
Correct.
Did you already
They
send
need
the
to hear
letter?
from everybody.
Pardon me, did you already send the letter?
I already sent the letter.
Okay, well then, I won't give you my grammar corrections.
Well, give it to me because I'm just curious.
You said of, but it should have been if, and the town there should have been capitalized. But that's fine, it's no biggie.
Oh, okay, I got you. Thank you. Board liaison reports. We'll start with Councilman Sullivan.
Good evening. Starting with Water Districts 1 and 2, many people should have gotten text messages. It's on our webpage, I believe, that next Monday through Wednesday, May the 4th through the 6th, during regular working hours, hydrants will be getting flushed. That's an annual, I'm not sure if it's semi-annual, I think that's an annual event. With the building department, speak with Bruce quite a bit, talked to him this morning. On Saturday, Cuomo had an update, Justin can keep me out of trouble for saying something wrong, which included the possibility of a phase 1 startup of some non-essential construction statewide, as of possibly May the 15th. So I asked Bruce what his department is doing to prepare for that. They're currently processing FOIL requests, they're processing building permits, and they're doing inspections in a scaled-down manner. Nobody's allowed in the building, but if anybody needs anything from that office, 446-4280, extension 332. You can mail it. He's on the website, and it will be tended to. So he just, I'm not sure how we're going to scale up when that time comes, but they're open for business, in other words. With the ZBA, Justin, Kelly, June, I think Gene Tolman and myself and Pat Patterson participated in one of 2 webinars, or WebEx things, last week. I thought they went pretty well, and I don't want to speak on the ZBA's behalf, but they include me in things, and they've been trying. I don't think they're having all that much luck. That board has 5 members, all of which are over 60, 3 of which are over 80. They're not going to meet here the way we are. They're all high risk. So they're working on it. I can't guarantee it. Their meeting would be the 3rd Wednesday in May, which would be May 20th. I think they're going to give it a go. I'm not sure if Kelly's going to host or whatever, but they're trying to work out the bugs. At our next meeting, if we meet on whatever the 2nd Monday in May is, I'll have an update on that. The planning board, Justin can speak to that, did meet remotely, and I think they intend to meet in May and have a public hearing. I'm not their liaison, but I do speak with Eric, And so they're a go. I'm not sure what format they're using. I think they're going to use the town's WebEx as well, aren't they?
For this, they'll use WebEx. For their last meeting, town had not yet purchased it, so they used it.
Okay.
Modality. But yep.
Okay. And on the sewer department, we've had some changes in personnel and phones and whatnot. 2 out of the 3 pump stations that have remote dialers have been recalibrated. Oakwood has not been yet. I intend to get there with Jimmy this either Wednesday or Thursday to change that one over so that the call will go to Jimmy's town cell phone or to the non-emergency police number in the event that those pump stations, if the alarm goes off. So the one at Corbin Hill and the one at Jimmy Ripp's house are all set to go now. Dechlorination, I think that it's almost May 1st. I think that either TAM or Fusco, I'm not sure who's going to conduct it, is going to have a class for all the operators and how to use that new system. I'll let you know when it is if you don't know already. I would like to attend it as well. And I think we've spoken about it. That system uses plant water, which is basically processed sewage, which is ready to go into the Hudson just after it's been chlorinated. The plant water system is not in that great a shape right now, and there's that red tank down there which may need to be replaced in order for it to function. Trouble is that that system is slated to be demoed as part of the EFC project, so you don't want to spend any money you don't have to. I don't think that the dechlorination is going to operate without putting a tank into that so that the well doesn't keep coming on and off. I've talked to Al Fusco about it. We'll do what we have to do on that. And
You did talk to Al about that?
yes, I did.
Okay.
I brought it to his attention that it's part of the demo, and they may want to rearrange your scheduling to do that first thing, because the dechlorination can't operate without it.
Okay.
And the rest is, I think we're going to talk a bit later on about the street lighting ingredient. I think we're going to vote on, and I sent out an email to everybody just before the meeting covering all that. That's it.
I went up into the, I don't know what you want to call it, dechlorination building, and I see they've got, basically everything is in there.
Yep.
All the equipment's in there, the heater, everything that's supposed to be there is there.
Yep,
I mean, it looks like it's pretty well set to go.
yes.
They got this strip down in the water, then above the water where it's going out of the plant, so. I
It's an
think
expensive
we'll
8 by
make
8
the
building,
deadline,
isn't
and we won't get fined $35,500, I would hope. Okay.
So that's my report.
So now, double check with Al to find out if he has to call them up to come down and see what we got.
Okay,
I did mention that to him, and he says, oh, I'll take care of it. Well, I'd like you to ask him.
okay, I'll take care of that tomorrow.
Councilman King.
Good evening, everyone, and good evening, everyone at home. And a few notes for me tonight, starting with recreation. We are reporting tonight that, as directed by the supervisor, the recreation department has opened back up Brooks Park, but there are several guidelines imposed, such as continue to practice social distancing and continue to adhere to the executive order, which means you have to wear a mask. But otherwise, it's open, and then the playground area, you will see that it is roped off where it's not to be used for the little playground area. He's working with, our recreation director, that is working with a military-based company to provide protective masks for children in the community. So that's something that we will continue to monitor. Right now, it looks good that he may produce some of those masks. He's going to continue to keep a running list of kids that are in the community and that will need this product, and hopefully by Saturday we'll be able to distribute some of these masks to youth in the community. So in reference to the Senior Citizen Liaison, which is the center, they continue to support the seniors with wellness checks and food distributions as needed. So they are a viable member of the community and the staff while we are under COVID-19. So they've delivered meals to families, donated flowers delivered by volunteers. These go to the senior citizens. And they're working on, one of the things I've noticed, and I'm looking at a note here from the center that addresses this, that as we're in an era where virtual is of high demand, meaning you're doing church on virtual platforms or some other form of entertainment. So now seniors who may or may not have been exposed to the computer as much are in need of some of these services. So the center is trying to work through that and to help seniors get trained up on some of these technologies. For example, my mother requested for me to get her a iPad. So it sounds like a good Mother's Day gift. So now moving on to the dial-up bus. We currently, as we reported last meeting, the services are suspended still, but Colleen is definitely leaning forward in preparation for the time when we give the order for her to go back into operation. So that being said, she's requested some masks for the drivers and different things of that nature. So I just want you to know that she's not just sitting on her laurels, she's still planning for the day we get to reactivate that service. Police. Let me open up an email from Chief. Okay. So, Chief Pieri. Okay, hold on. Give me 1 second. I will get this straight because what's happening here is the Wi-Fi here is jamming me up. It's a jammer there.
That technology, man.
So we're gonna move on right quick while that's opening. We're gonna move to the ambulance corps. Okay, so the ambulance corps has stated that a lot of good things happening with the ambulance corps. Of course, our first responders, we salute them and we thank them immensely, along with all the volunteers and others who are on the front lines. But right now, what they're reporting is we have EMTs covering more shifts than normal due to COVID-19. And they do that in the case they have to decon the vehicle and the crew has to change and shower. So they bring in more than normal to have a backup in such a case that they need to decon if they had a COVID-19 patient. They've done 46 calls in February and then another 34 calls in March. So yeah, staying busy there. The supplies look good, still holding strong. However, we are requesting more PPE, and so that has gone out to some channels, probably yourself as well. And I know our emergency management guys on it, as well as some of the other elected officials. The new ambulance is about 3 weeks from being delivered. And Jeff wants to say a big thank you to Pat and his team for continuing to assist with the vehicle that was in an accident and so forth. Oh, okay. So, emergency management. We have a note from Mr. Kurt Hahn. And that states that, basically Kurt is saying that, it's over 8,000 cases in Orange County. If you're not aware, somewhere around 8,100. And then close to 300 has passed at this point, 299 I believe to exact. And the numbers being reported for here in the Highlands is 103. And I think comparable over there in Cornwall is 112, both with similar populations. Along those lines, he wanted to continue to remind us that this time of year is transitioning into hurricane time. Not necessarily that we get that much of a hurricane here, but we will pick up high winds and a lot of rain, and so people should be aware that the conditions outside will be very, very challenging. So be careful outside. So I also wanted to say along that line, so what I've noticed as I traversed our areas here in Highland Falls, to Fort Montgomery, West Point, the Highlands, is that people are really practicing social distancing as far as I can see well. I mean, I don't see a lot of people personally gathering. I don't see it. I see people wearing the mask for the most part in the areas where they should wear the mask. And then there's others that have figured out how to get out and exercise and do those things without violating the current policies. So just thank you to everyone that is out there taking that serious, number one, and then practicing those requirements. I wanted to say a big happy birthday to one of my favorite ladies, Mrs. Dorothy Koziak, 95 years old, or years young, and this past weekend, or this coming weekend?
This past weekend, she was 95. I just passed Bob a note about that.
Yeah, well, it just popped in my brain. It popped in my head, when he was gonna pass the note.
She made Channel 12 News with Blaze Gomez. Yeah.
She made Channel 12 News. She was already a celebrity here in the Highlands, but now she's a bigger celebrity because she was on the news. Happy birthday, Ms. Koziak. We wish you many more to come. God bless you. And I'll find that email from Chief and I'll get back on that.
Okay.
afterwards.
Councilman Parry?
Not much, Bob. I, again, just want to thank and compliment the Highway Department and the Sanitation Department for meshing their forces, maintaining the schedules of pickups. I think from my observations, and I know that probably could be borne out, but I imagine a lot of people are cleaning out their homes, and more things are ending up to be picked up. But I know people need that, and I think just want to thank those fellows for all the work they're doing. That's it.
Thank you. They're doing a good job. Brooks's Lake Park, since I actually was the person that closed it, and I hope the town board doesn't mind me doing a couple of things on my own, such as that. And what prompted me to reopen it is I listen most every day to our county exec, Steve Newhouse, and he's been lately ending up, and especially this Friday, he said something to the effect, tomorrow is supposed to be a beautiful day. All the Orange County parks are open, so get out with your family, enjoy the weather. And I'm thinking to myself, all your parks are open. I closed mine because of the stay home thing. So I thought, I can open that park and still keep within the regulations. So I opened the park. We didn't open the kids part of it, the kids playground, but you still have the lake to fish in or to walk around and hike around. You have the dog park. You have the basketball court, and I've asked with a signage there that no team plays, where they can go out and shoot some hoops and what have you. The softball field is there. I don't think too many softball players are 6 foot away from each other, so I think that's or less than 6 foot. So that's a good thing. So there's plenty to do in the park. Sadly enough, we can't keep the playground sanitized. That's the problem with the playground and why we can't do it. But other than that, it's open. Now, one little thing I put in, the park is owned by the state. We have to allow the general public there. There's no getting around that. And I've noticed that on weekends, the hikers jam our parking lot. They park all over in the back there and don't use the park. They're just using the parking lot to go out on their trails and hiking. And God bless them. They can do that. But for on weekends, Saturday and Sunday, I'm closing the parking lot. I'm closing the entrance in. So that may be an inconvenience to our locals, excepting for the ones that can walk down there. But I'm just trying to keep it so I can't tell them to stay out, but I can certainly shut them out. So that's why I did that part that way. So we'll see how that works.
Yep.
If anybody's been over the mountain on 9W, my gosh, they're all over the place up there. And then if you go down into the Stony Point area, over top of Buckburg and down the bottom of the hill in the flats, they're parked all over down there now. So I just want to keep our park for people enjoying the park. So therefore, that's why I did that. Bruce and I got an email from the ambulance corps, and apparently they had a couple of problems on Corbin Hill where they had a hard job finding an apartment on Corbin Hill. even though most of them are marked, they're not marked in any manner. It's not above the door or over here. It's no special place. They may have their marks on there. And apparently in Peregrine Hall Apartments, there was another problem trying to find an apartment there. So Bruce is working on it. He's going to try and provide a map of both places for them. And with that in mind, I was trying to find a house on Mountain Avenue. I could not find the house, at least the house number. I couldn't find it because there were no numbers on where I suspected it was, 2 houses, no numbers. The house before had no number. So if you're at home and you want the ambulance corps to get to your house because you push the button and I've fallen and I can't get up and you're in the house by yourself and it's not numbered, it's going to take the ambulance corps a little extra time. They'll find you, but it's going to take extra time. It would be so easy to put a nice big set of numbers out in front of your house. If you're in a house and there's a domestic going on and you're beating up your husband and you call the police, maybe they're not going to find your house quick enough. So it only cost a few bucks to buy some numbers. They're supposed to be big numbers too. I could give you the dimensions, but they're in the, we can actually give you a ticket for not having a number on the house, right?
If you wanted to.
It's a violation, right? But buy the biggest numbers you can, put them as close to the road as you can, so somebody coming down the road can find your house and find your number.
Make
Yeah.
sure they're reflective.
They should be reflective, yes, because during the daytime, obviously, it's much easier to find something. At nighttime, that much more difficult. So reflective numbers, and I forget what they cost, but it's under $10 for 2 or 3 numbers. Richie, you may know better than I do. The cost of numbers?
It's not that expensive. And I remember when we went through with the E911 renumbering.
Oh, yeah.
It was all done, and it's spelled out in the code exactly what size they are and where they should be, so we don't want to fine people, but if there is a problem getting to it, it should be noted and ask them to change it accordingly.
Yeah, I don't want to see anybody suffering because they didn't have that little number out there. I just found my cheat sheet on Brooks's Park. You know where Ponytail usually parks on that road on down there for the games? I'm asking that no one parks on that road because the hikers usually find a way to get their cars parked. So we're not going to let you park on that road. And it does say no parking from one sign to the corner anyway. Justin, you're going to take part of this meeting here. First of all, I got a question now. We got this agreement from Al Fusco, and it has his Part 1, Part 2, Part 3 rates.
Correct.
Are those correct?
Well, at least I think when Councilman Sullivan went back through all the various agreements and all the various different things that he bills for, it looked to be that the town board was willing to increase the engineering services in Part B of the project. Part B was the design phase of the project. And a couple of times, through back and forth with EFC and other officials, there were requests for certain types of changes. In particular, and I'll probably get it wrong, and hopefully Richie will bail me out, but the diffuse bubble system had to be incorporated into the project.
Right.
And
Yes.
that was a fairly significant engineering redesign.
Yes.
So, to answer your question directly, I don't recall whether this board or a prior board ever sat up and took a vote. I don't remember that.
We did.
Doesn't mean they didn't.
We did.
We did?
We did about a year and a half ago.
Okay,
Yes, yes.
Okay.
So
To
I'm
move
sure
it from
you-
150,000 to 195 and change for Part B.
Right. The
Part C was still
45,000,
100,000, that's correct.
Correct. Okay. In
So-
that case,
So I can sign this agreement then?
We did do that, yes.
Okay. So then I'll sign this agreement and get it back to him. Just as a reminder, Part 1 was 10,000, Part 2 was 195,304, and Part 3 right through to the end is 100,000.
That's right.
And the inspection fees are included in these numbers.
That's correct. And part, I don't want to talk too much with inaccurate data. Some of the submittals we get from him, for example, the last one that I looked at a couple of months ago, Part C had like $9,000 deducted from it. We didn't even begin Part C yet. There is nothing to inspect yet. So we're working on trying to get that all cleaned up. He sent an email out the other day. I got to be in the right frame of mind to look at it. I'm not ready yet.
This one?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay, because according to this, we own $74,000, but it goes all the way back to, let's see, where did I see that? Oh, well, it's the EFC, it's the sewer project, yeah. I thought there was something on there for.
Yeah, no, there were other projects mixed
Yeah.
in there. as
Part of the
well.
problem, there was MS4, there was the Brooks's Park block grant, whatever it was.
Yep.
There was dechlorination, there was EFC, there was one for $7,000 for general. There is no general, it has to be one of the other ones. And there was one particular one for sewer pump repair, which took about a year of discussion to determine that what I believe that comes from is when they rebuilt the pump stations before I was on this board. So we're working on it.
That was 2017, the one you're
Yes.
talking about now.
Yes.
Okay.
That went back and forth. He claimed it was part of dechlorination. Dechlorination didn't happen until a year after that bill, so,
So between you and Kelly, you're gonna
yes.
do,
Yep.
okay. I appreciate that very much. You don't know how much. Okay, Justin. Now, we got the bulk of the agenda, streetlight project operating agreement, streetlight mutual release and settlement agreement, agreement for purchase and sale of street lighting facility, fixture details, and a quit claim bill of sale.
You want me to start, or you want Councilman Sullivan to start?
You reviewed them, thank you, and I'm looking at your notes for review. If you want to go over anything maybe that we would be
Sure.
entrapped by.
No, happy to jump in. Right, so this is the next step in the streetlight project. You'll be acquiring your own streetlights from O&R. So this is a purchase agreement. The main document is the purchase agreement to acquire the approximately 168 fixtures. Approximate cost of $32,000. Everything's relatively straightforward in the agreement, but there are, in that agreement, right, it does assign you the responsibility to get consent from Verizon, because some of the poles are owned by Verizon, some of the poles are owned by O&R. So that's one of your main obligations under that agreement. The other documents that the supervisor is referring to are, one is a bill of sale, which is the actual transfer of those assets to the town when the time comes. One is a general release. It's mutual. It goes in both directions, but you are both saying to one another, okay, we have no claims related to these assets in either direction. That includes billing disputes. I know you just went through a process where you had some of your bills rectified.
Yes.
So hopefully you don't have others, but this agreement would cut off your ability to challenge things along those lines. That's what the general release does. And then there was an operating agreement. The operating agreement sort of is the agreement between the two parties once the sale takes place, meaning you're not, right, O&R will still need access. O&R still provides the some of the electricity, and so who's responsible for what is contained in that operating agreement. For the most part, it's language that Richie probably understands better than Justin understands. For the most part, it's what you think, but there are certain obligations upon the town to install certain things in the 2 years after they obtain these assets. Inline, I'm going to say it wrong, inline fused disconnects. Don't know what that is. So hopefully someone at DPW or on the town board understands that. You'll also have to label your own poles. All very standard things. So the agreements are fair. There are insurance provisions that should just be run by your insurance agent to make sure that nothing additional is needed. I would suspect not, but because this is a different type of utility than you normally operate, maybe might have some insurance issue that you need to review with your DPW so they understand the new assets that they will own. Obviously, they might not always have expertise to handle some of these issues, but a contractor could be hired to handle those things. Otherwise, the agreements are a good next step in moving this process along to get to your agreement with NYPA. And
To refresh everybody's memory, Jeff Lano was here a year and a couple of weeks ago. He talked April 5th of last year, I believe. His presentation was pretty thorough and spot on and correct up to date. I'll say the number now that it's been done. $58,000 was what was projected it would cost us to buy these lights. So we're $20,000 below that, or whatever, somewhere close to that. So that's a pleasing number. We lowered the lighting district budget this year from $52,000 down to $46,000. Even at that $46,000, and New York Power Authority financing everything, including the purchase of the lights, the project. I'm not going to say the total number of the project because there's some bids that have to be done in the future. But what that translates into is a 7 to 8 year payback time with a positive cash flow during that time, meaning the expense per year will be $3,000 or $4,000 less than the $46,000 we're paying now, including paying for electricity for these lights, which have a 15 to 25 year life. So we'll recognize a very good savings after that period of time. And a caveat to that is if we don't do anything, as a light burns out, Orange and Rockland will change it to an LED light if they're choosing. So we don't get to recognize any savings, and like it or not, they're going to all be LED ultimately in the future. So I think it's a great deal, and I hope everybody understands it.
Okay.
so you have, go
What
ahead.
was the thing that you didn't understand, something on the poles?
Yeah, I just don't know what it says the town is required within 2 years of ownership to install inline fused disconnects.
Okay, now if I.
When we had that
remember it-
meeting back on December 9th,
But they have an engineer that's going to install.
they
it,
do.
right?
That is included in it. I think it's like $88 or something
Okay,
like that
all right,
per
okay.
light.
Per light.
And if the light goes out, they're going to know about it immediately, and so is whoever we deem we want to, Pat Patterson, whoever wants to have the software, and it will be repaired within 2 weeks. In regard to a contractor to fix them, New York Power Authority is going to do that for $20 per light per year. We're not going to own any bucket trucks. We're not going to hire electricities. That's going to be all a contract with them to do that.
Okay, that's what I thought, yeah. We were talking about.
And that
it
makes
earlier.
perfect sense. I just couldn't recall those
Yeah.
particulars, so I wanted to highlight certain responsibilities, but it's already captured in the initial
That's correct.
quotes for expectation. So that's.
And
great.
of course, everybody knows we beat into them that the design is not going to be as bright as mercury on a summer night. You know, it's going to be 2,700 Kelvin or less,
Right.
and we're going to tailor it to.
Which you also get control of by purchasing as opposed to leaving it.
That's correct.
Right? So
That's correct.
it's very prudent.
So I just want everyone to know, ultimately, the lights will be LED over time, whether we do anything or not.
So you have before you, if you want, a resolution that would authorize the supervisor to sign the agreements when they're in the final form. There were a couple little technical, one time they refer to the village instead of the town, a couple things that they didn't fill in, a couple notice provisions. But this resolution, if you're ready for it, would authorize the supervisor to enter into the purchase and sale of street lighting facilities with O&R as soon as they are in finalized form.
Well, then what I can probably do is send your notes to them saying that I'm authorized to sign the agreements. However, we need this taken care of before I sign it.
Correct.
Does that sound the right way to go? We'll do it that way.
Sure.
And that would be going to whom?
It's Grace Sue.
Yes.
Okay.
She's at O&R's legal department.
And that process
Now Kelly
started,
or Richie has,
well, that process started July 10th. Kelly actually notified them. They laid dormant upon it, so it was on them for that 3 or 4 months that nothing happened. And here we are.
yeah, right, we got correspondence in December, but.
That's right.
6 months went by, right.
That's right.
But so if you're ready, that's, and it's that straightforward, just enter into the agreement for purchase and sale of street lighting facilities with O&R.
Okay. Do I have a motion to move the resolution to authorize the town of Highlands to enter into an agreement for purchase and sale of street lighting facilities with Orange and Rockland?
Motion?
Second.
Councilmember Sullivan,
Aye.
Councilmember King,
Aye.
Councilmember Perry,
Aye.
Supervisor Lipsy.
Aye. Okay, that was easier than it looked on the agenda. Any other business? Our meetings, which we're enjoying right now, I spoke to Councilman Perry about, we'll say, my reluctance to do Zoom or all those other things. I don't know how you two feel about it, you guys feel about it. I think this is comfortable. I personally think this is open to the public, where the public can watch us on TV, or they can get a copy of this tomorrow morning as early as that is, as soon as Kelly comes in and put it online. I think this is more open than the other meetings. Comments?
Comfortable. The only thing I'll add to it, and I know that there's some reluctance, is this beautiful device that I paid $650 for. I'm going to say something that's going to annoy the taxpayers. I don't owe this to them. Everything I do for the town, this thing is ready to explode with data. The school board, when I was on it, everybody was issued an iPad, which is the easiest. They're wireless. That might be a detriment to some manner. But they can handle data, they can process stuff, they're portable, they're high theft. I had one stolen when I was on the Board of Education. I would push for those to be available for either some department heads. I mean, we have a ZBA chairman that doesn't even have a town computer to work off of. I think that that's something we're gonna have to address as time goes on. So I'm comfortable with this, but I think the capability needs to be looked at to be able, because the new future is going to be a little bit different than anything we're all used to.
Yeah, I'd say that I'm certainly open to either way. I mean, I use those virtual platforms quite frequently. But to your point, Supervisor, I think there's something for the fact that we come in here and we're able to adhere to the social distancing and the other requirements and still give the public a sense of assurity that we're getting some work done. To me, it's probably the option A is to come in, and the option B is to use the other stuff if we had to.
As far as the public goes, to me, this is more personal to the public. They can, this is what we do, we've been doing for the last 100 years. So even though there's a horrible problem going on in the world, we're still trying to hold true to what we have. Richie, man?
I spoke with you, Bob. I think it's important that we do have the meetings and that they are recorded and then put out, just to show that the town business is going on. We have certain obligations, and I think we're meeting them. And I'm happy with the way we do it like this, but I'm old school, but I can be taught, an old dog can be taught new tricks. So if we get to it, we'll do it.
Yeah, I always bring this up. A long time ago when I was first supervisor, Evie Drew was on the town board, and we were not billing for ambulance calls. And I brought the idea up, which was provided to me by, I think it was Ned Copal, said, across the river in Yonkers, they bill for ambulance calls. How come we don't? Geez, I don't know why. So I looked into it, and there was no reason why we couldn't. So I brought it before the board, and Evie Drew says, I'm a charter member of the Ambulance Corps. We are volunteers. We've always been volunteers, and we don't charge. Okay, well, I couldn't get a board approval because of her. So I think maybe about a month later, I brought my argument out there again and explained how much money we spend on it and that we could cover our entire ambulance corps budget by charging the regular fees that Medicare and Medicaid did. So she made a speech almost similar to that's what reminded me, almost like you. She says, well, I'm an old fogey and I'm an old this, but I realize there are new ways to do things. And she says, I won't stop it. I'll vote for it. So
I don't think I said I was an old fogey.
He had a little extra to the story.
I mean, the beauty like with this at work is you can call me and say, this Al Fusco thing, I have this in the machine with me, and I can fire it up from the hotspot on my phone. I can take documents, look at them, and deal with it portable right with me all day long. Adds a little bit of stress to my life, but that's the oath that I took. So I think this is something that should be thought about. It's a very convenient way for people, and you don't need to get it cellular. Let people use a hotspot, Wi-Fi where they're at. The cellular costs money, but it's something I think you should consider for department heads or us as time goes on.
back when we're in the money again, we certainly will.
But unless the state provides a grant for it, then let's go after it, so.
Now, the school, when they talk about Chromebooks, is that what that is?
No, that's an iPad.
What-
Chromebooks are a little bit cheaper. The school, when John Hall was a congressman, got a grant for $800,000. The woman who's number 2 down there, Andrea Trador, came with that grant. She is a wealth of knowledge on that stuff. So all that goes back to her knowledge, all the Chromebooks and all that. Thankfully for this crisis, they're able to have homeschooling because they were set up for it. They spent some money on it. I mean, their budget is like 5 times what ours is, but, but she was the guiding light behind that. There's a lot of smart people in this building. I don't know if we have anybody quite that savvy with technology.
You mean their budget's only $30 million? Is that what you said?
Yes.
Okay. Anything else? Anybody have anything?
Yeah, I had one last
Oh,
thing.
the chiefs.
Yeah, Chief.
Did you
I
get
don't want
that?
to be remiss. Yes, I got it. And this is to Richie's point. He's able to run circles around me with his pad, and I'm using my phone. But nevertheless, we got it done. Here it is. And so the patrols are doing great. I concur from what I see out there. They continue to serve, and we thank them for that service. And they says they have no manpower issues currently. Although there are some folks that have to work primary jobs, they're still able to meet their requirements or their obligations to us here. Chief just drove down to New Jersey and to take the patrol car to get new radios installed. And so that's ongoing, and we expect to have 114 to be here next week. And all we need is the lettering at that point. And he's aware of the directive about Brooks Park. He's giving guidance to the patrolmen to get out there and take a look at it, ensure that everybody's there using it within the requirements.
Good.
So that's all I have.
Yeah, again, talking about the parks, Mine Dock Park. I've been known, I go down to Mine Dock Park twice a day, almost every day, and I just check out things for vandalism and such like that. That parking lot is full almost every day. We've finally gotten to the point where they're not parking on the other side of the tracks. I got one more sign put there, which the fine is $50 to $250, because I don't like it when I have to call the police down there and they simply go out of their way to go over and tell them to move. Well, enough is enough, and we've had the same group of people that are constantly being asked to move. And just one last point on social distancing. I noticed this hot dog wagon that was in Fort Montgomery this weekend, and there was a line out in front of that place, 3 or 4 people deep. But 3 or 4 people deep every one of them kept their 6-foot distance. It was really nice to see that people standing in front of this wagon would keep a line there. Very nice to see. Ask for a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So carried. Thank you all. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Tierney.